Hey y'all, I recently got a vision from the Lord about the state of Texas in the United States. And so if you are not from Texas or you don't care about Texas, I believe this word can still apply to you. And if nothing else, you can look at Texas and be like, hey, okay, Texas is not that great after all, I'm just kidding. I love Texas. But what the Lord was showing me is something that I think most Texans they're gonna recognize as soon as they hear it. This was December 5th, 2020, and I saw this image, and I had seen this same image a few months before. So this was not the first time I had seen this, but this was the first time when I understood what it meant. What I saw was like the shape of Texas on a map, and Texas is what, most Texans know it's the largest continental state, I think. Yeah, I think that's how you say it, because Alaska actually beats us in size. So I saw this shape of Texas, but it was inverted. So it was like flipped over backwards, as if someone had cut it out, picked it up, and flipped it over. And this is the second time I saw this. And this time I prayed about it because I knew God brought this vision back to me, and I was like, this means something. I prayed about it, and I heard the weirdest thing I've ever heard the Holy Spirit say. He said, the Rascal Flatts state. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking, what does that mean? What is Rascal Flatts? And I knew Rascal Flatts was the name of a band. I was pretty sure. And I was thinking like, maybe it's a band from Texas. Anyways, so I'm going to tell you what, it's not a band from Texas though. I did look it up. But I'm going to tell you what God meant by that. But first I want to tell you what he started to show me about this vision. This inverted state, what he was showing me was that we in Texas, and God is just using Texas as a picture of a group of people, but I believe this word could apply to any believer anywhere in the earth. But God is saying this is something that happens a lot here. That's what he's saying. But he's using it to try to speak to all of us. Okay, so what I believe he was saying was that we in the state of Texas, and especially in the Bible Belt, what's called the Bible Belt in the United States, we have a problem with believing that we need God's grace. We have a problem with believing that we need his grace. And the reason is because a lot of us have either grown up in church or we've read the Bible for a long time. We've had family members who are Christians for a long time, whatever it may be. We might have been saved at an early age. We might have known the Lord for a long time. But what happens sometimes is we start to look at us and we compare ourselves to other people. And we start to have this thought, man, I'm doing a good job. No wonder God is blessing me. No wonder these good things have happened in my life. Because look at the great job I've been doing. But what happens when we get to that place is our relationship with God becomes very impersonal, and it actually becomes a little hypocritical. And I'm not just saying this to you. I'm saying this to myself. And man, I needed to hear this so bad when the Lord spoke it to me, because it was a reminder of my own story. I grew up in church, and y'all, by the time that I was in high school, I was so full of pride. I looked at everybody else around me, and I thought to myself, I am so much more blessed than everybody else. I was getting good grades. I suddenly was popular in the new school that I went to. I was on the basketball team. I was in theater. All these things where it was like all this stuff that I was hoping would happen was coming true. I had an opportunity to go to college. I was getting ready for that. All these things in my life were lining up. But what that led me to was this place of pride in thinking, in this sense of thinking I had earned it. But here's the word the Holy Spirit is speaking. Grace means unmerited favor. Unmerited means something you didn't earn. You can't earn it. You don't deserve it. And we never get to a place where we've earned God's grace or we earn his favor. We never do. It's always grace. It's always what Jesus did for us on the cross. No matter how long we've been walking with God. 1 Corinthians 10:12 says, therefore, let the one who thinks he stands watch out that he does not fall. And then Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before stumbling. Some translations say pride goes before a fall. Pride is like a false lover. It will lift you up just to let you down. But Jesus, he's the lover that will never let you down. He's the lover that gave everything for you, on behalf of you. He poured his heart and his life and his soul and his body out for you. He let his blood be poured out for you. So I want to jump back to this vision real fast. I did a little research. I Googled Rascal Flatts. I found out they're a country western band. I didn't know any of the songs that they had written or anything like that. I couldn't think of anything they had done. But as soon as I started reading their profile on Wikipedia, I heard the Holy Spirit say something. He said, Google Rascal Flatts backwards. Google Rascal Flatts backwards. And so immediately I was like, okay, I saw Texas inverted, and he said the Rascal Flatts state. So this makes sense. So I typed in Rascal Flatts backwards, and I found that they released a song years ago titled Backwards. So I looked up this song, I started listening to it, and I pulled up the lyrics, and I started to read the lyrics, and as soon as I got to a single line, I'm going to read some of the lyrics here, but as soon as I got to a single line, I knew exactly what the Holy Spirit was saying. Some of the lyrics go, when you play a country song backwards, you get your house back, you get your dog back, you get your best friend Jack back, you get your truck back. So it's talking about how most country songs are sad, depressing, and they're just talking about all the things in life they've lost. So the lyrics to this song is basically a funny way of saying when you play the song backwards, everything comes back, which obviously is not true. But it goes on to say you get your hair back, you get your first and second jobs back, you get your nerves back, your achy breaky heart. And then after all these things, it says you get your pride back and you get your life back. And in that moment, this is what the Holy Spirit said. That if we think we're better because we're blessed, because we have all these things, because we haven't lost all these things, then we haven't understood God's grace. We haven't fully understood it. And in 2020, when a lot of people were struggling and obviously still struggling because of the economic crisis that was, happening due to COVID and everything else, what I saw living in Texas was not as many people here, and this was just my viewpoint. Not as many people in this state and in this area were hurt as the amount of people that were in other places, especially other places in the world. Y'all, I got onto a Zoom call with some friends from India, and I got to share the word with them. And y'all, it was like all I could do not to burst out in tears, just based on the way that they, the emotional state they were in because of everything that was happening this last year. And we are so blessed. I know it. I am so blessed to live in the United States, and especially in Texas. And yeah, maybe that's some of that pride coming up when I say that. I'm sorry. I need to hear this word, obviously. But here's what the Holy Spirit showed me is that if what we really need, and we don't think we need it, but what we really need is the fear of God. We need the fear of the Lord reinstilled in our hearts. Because when we get the fear of the Lord, that is what causes us to realize how much we actually need His grace. Instead of then comparing ourselves to other people and thinking and making assumptions about what God thinks about us based on how good we are doing compared to somebody else. Instead, what the fear of the Lord does is it allows us and it gives us that desire to actually know what God thinks, to actually know His opinion. And when we see His opinion, we realize the perfect standard is what we're living up to, and that is Jesus Christ. And none of us ever hit that standard. Nobody ever hits that mark. No matter how long you've been in church, no matter if you're a preacher or pastor or missionary or whatever, you're never perfect on your own in your performance. We all always need God's grace. So I'm almost done, but I want to share one more confirmation I got. The very next morning, December 6th, I went to church, and my pastor, I didn't know what he was going to preach about. He shared a message called The Gift of Grace. And in this message, he specifically talked about Texas and how we in Texas think that we don't need God's grace. He shared the exact same thing that God had just told me the night before. And that was in the third service, and they recorded the second service. So I don't know if he says that specifically in the link that I'm sharing, but if you want to watch that sermon, it's on YouTube, and I'm going to share a link to it. It's a really good message, y'all. It's such a good message about the grace of God and how amazing of a gift it really is. So I hope you go get a chance to watch it. And that's all I have to share with y'all today. I love y'all so much, and I'll see you next time.